Hello and welcome to Network Insights from Move Consulting. For those new to the series, Network Insights offers you the opportunity to listen in to some of our conversations with the world's leading physical activity, health and wellbeing experts from across our sector. In today's episode, we're going to focus in on the importance of physical activity to support our mental health. So, to get us going, I'll hand over to Elaine.
Hello everyone, and Happy New Year if you're listening in January. If you're not, well, I hope it's gone well. So I was great delight to welcome today Karla Burton, who works for the charity Mind, and she's a physical activities community lead. Welcome, Karla. Hope you're well.
Hi Elaine, hi Craig. Doing really well, thanks.
Great. I'm going to kick off just asking you to tell us a little bit about your background and your interest in where your interest in physical activity and mental health developed, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you said, Elaine, I'm physical activity communities lead at Mind, the mental health charity. I've been here for about 3.5 years. So, my journey started as physical activity officer, regional support. So, my main role was to support the regional networks program, which I'm sure we'll go on to in a little bit. My main role now is to kind of support our work around how we can engage more people from ethnically diverse communities and people facing poverty to access physical activity, support their mental health. I suppose I've got a huge background in physical activity. If anything, I have too many physical activity hobbies. So I'm a footballer, a cyclist, a netballer, but then I also play squash. I could go on. I've took up golf recently. Yeah, I'm a huge advocate for physical activity. I suppose how I got into mental health, I've always been a big advocate of like the positivities around mental health. I mean, even going out 15 minutes during meetings just hugely improves my like self-esteem, my confidence. Not most importantly, it helps me sleep at night as well. So I've just always been that huge advocate. So I suppose my journey getting into kind of mental health was due to my previous role. So I used to work for Bradford Disability Sport and Leisure. And I'm led on the Get Out Get Active programme there. And I worked with a local charity who supported people with mental health problems to access physical activity. And I've got to be honest, I was never, I wasn't a huge like knowledgeable person around mental health before then. And just being involved in that community and realising how physical activity really had that benefit and the real importance of mental health got me to really invest more of my time into it. And then thankfully, I had this opportunity to work for Mind. So I've really, really enjoyed being part of the team for the past 3 years.
Great, that's a lovely journey you've been on, isn't it? I mean, you mentioned in that your own experience of how being active supports your mental health. We're seeing over the years, we've seen more and more evidence around the benefits of physical activity for mental health. Would you like to share some of those findings and some of the things that Mind have uncovered as they've gone along? I know because you've delivered lots of projects over the years.
Yeah, I think it's kind of refreshing that it's now becoming more of a talked about topic. The stigma is reducing, but not for everyone. It can still be difficult to talk about mental health, but there's just huge benefits. Like I said, like just going out and being physically active can really support you to sleep at night. It really improves like your self-esteem and your confidence and generally just making you feel good. Like 15 minutes can actually last, like having that good feeling for like 15 minutes for a long time. It can make you feel good for the rest of the day. I suppose, still, we all have mental health, and I think that's important to address, whether we have poor mental health or good mental health. 1 in 4 adults experience mental health problems every year, and 1 in 6 children, young people, can experience mental health problems as well. So I think it's just really important that we do address that as a physical activity sector, but that we do also remember that, at the end of the day, mental health is as important as physical health. And we all need to look after that.
It is absolutely. And one of the things, Karla, that we've spoken about in discussions and Mind have completed some work on is around that positive relationship with physical activity as well, because in relation to supporting our mental health, you mentioned a couple, as Elaine mentioned, of your personal examples, getting outside for 15 minutes and things like that can really give you that boost that you need. But what is it about that positive relationship that you'd really emphasise when it comes to being physically active in terms of supporting your mental health?
Yeah, I think it's important to have that positive relationship, because taking part in physical activity, you know, whatever you do enjoy, it needs to be enjoyable, it needs to be fun, you know, it kind of should be something that's part of your daily life when, you know, when you can fit it in, that you just really want to do. I think, you know, there's so many positives in like making friends and taking up something that makes you kind of, it's part of your like toolkit for supporting your mental health in a sense. So there are times, and so it links to the campaign that we developed last year around developing that healthy relationship, just ensuring that the physical activity that you do is within your limits, that, you know, you are still having the opportunity to let your body and your mind recover, and that you're doing it for a reason that you enjoy. So I suppose there are times when, you know, I suppose for some people that physical activity might become an everyday thing and you're doing it at quite high intensity, and you get into the point where you're not enjoying it and you're more doing it because you feel like you have to do it, and it's really actually not talked about quite often. We all talk about the positive benefits, but there are occasions where I suppose it can become unhealthy. So our campaign last year and the resources that we've developed for the sport and physical activity sector can really help you to kind of zone in back to that healthy relationship. Perhaps spot signs and symptoms if you think a participant or yourself is doing too much, and just kind of getting back to that level where you are enjoying it and you're doing it for the reasons for you.
Yeah. What we'll make sure that we do is any of the resources or programs that you're alluding to through our conversation, we'll put the links of those below our video. So for those watching, check the feed below here. You'll be able to find a bit more information. And as an example, a real kind of life example to really bring it to the fore, I guess, we mention this phrase quite often, that everybody has mental health, and it's to a degree, if we're honest, it's become that thing that's just said, but we don't really reflect on what that means. And in terms of developing a positive relationship, think about now when we're recording this in January, before we hit record, we were talking about the New Year's resolutions. That's an example where we can take a very positive thing and a vehicle that can support our mental health and apply too much pressure on it and make it, oh, I should be doing something because it's January and it's New Year's resolution. And that phrase, again, that we've heard from a number of different campaigns, for example, we are undefeatable, making it fit in a way that works for you, engaging with physical activity in a way that's positive and healthy for you in that sense. So it completely resonates and transcends across. So that campaign and those resources definitely very useful in relation to framing things. And I guess that brings me to another question I wanted to ask. So the benefits of being physically active for our mental health are widely known, loads of evidence to show that it is a positive thing to do in a way that works for you, as we've said. If I am that person that's commissioning or developing an initiative, are there any fundamental things I should be considering in the design of my programme or my intervention that could support people's mental health? Any hints or tips from experience that you'd share, Karla?
Yeah, I mean, I can really speak about this all day. I think the first thing to consider is just, and I can't really emphasise it enough, is involving people in the co-design of your programme. So involving people with experience of mental health problems, or even the audience that you're trying to reach. And that kind of involvement of co-design should be from the very beginning of the planning stage. So really just speaking to the audience that you want to speak, that you want to kind of attract to your sessions, you know, identifying what would bring them to a physical activity session, what the barriers might be, how can it be accessible. And in doing that and investing that time into really speaking to that audience, you're developing an environment that will most likely have long-standing participation, because you've taken that time to really understand your audience needs. I suppose other things are making sure that your coaches and leaders are confident around mental health as well. So whether it's, upskilling yourself through like e-learning such as our mental health awareness and sport and physical activity. There's courses such as the mental health first aid as well. So just making sure that as much as you've got that accessible environment, that your coaches, your workforce and your leaders feel confident and knowledgeable to have those kind of conversations, to spot signs and symptoms, and equally be able to kind of signpost to support if needed. I suppose they're the two top things for me, but I probably could go on and on.
Co-design is so important, and Elaine, we've worked on a number of different projects inside and outside of mental health as a focus, in terms of the importance of that co-design element, making sure that you get it right. And I think if we're realistic about it, there's an element of subjectivity to that, because if you were to speak to a different group of people in that consultation and process, you might find different things. And the reason I say that, and I don't know if Elaine, you've got anything more to add to it, but it's sometimes a misstep that people take, where you look for an insight through a desktop piece of research and find out what were the latest top 3 things. That's not guaranteed, because everybody is unique, aren't they, in the approach that they take. And programs need to be flexible in their design in that way, I guess. Yeah,
I mean, I was thinking back to the experience I had with when we developed the National Exercise Referral Scheme, and a lot of schemes are developed in the same way. There is a set 16-week program or 12-week program, and it's this and it's that, and because of waiting lists and whatever, if you don't turn up for so many, you might, they assume you're not coming back. And I learned a very important lesson, because I had a phone call, and fair play to this person, because they had a mental health condition, and they rang me up and they said, look, you've your program across the whole of Wales, I can't remember which part he was from, has excluded me because I haven't turned up. But I've been struggling at this moment in time with my depression. I was not in a fit state to turn up for these sessions. You've kicked me off the program. I need the program. And it was a real learning for me, which was, hold on, we are developing who are we developing this for? It's not for the smooth management of the program. It's for the individuals, and for individuals who are in that situation, that 12 weeks all fixed, everything will be hunky-dory, is not going to work for them. And similarly, timing of things, because medication takes a while to kick in often, so if you're on medication, so it's little things like that are really important in considering program design, is really understanding some of the challenges that people will maybe having.
Yeah. And Karla, to come back to you, from Mind's perspective, are there any available tools or resources, not to list them exhaustively, but are there any key ones that you would point people to have a look at in relation to this area of developing programs to support people to engage?
Yeah, I mean, we've developed the mental health and physical activity toolkit last year, and that includes a range of guides, one including it's called Guide 3, around involving people lived experience in your design and delivery of projects. So it kind of goes through the steps that you can take, like right from the beginning, in involving people in the planning of your projects. We also have toolkits around engaging people with mental health problems in your programs, and then also engaging different communities into your programs as well. So there's, as much as it is reading, we also have an interactive webinar at the beginning to listen to that. Equally, if you are looking to develop or design a program, do contact us at sport@mind.org.uk as well, because I understand that reading resources isn't always the most accessible form of learning. But yeah, there's lots of information out there. I guess for me, it's always that mental health is a journey, and taking steps as an organisation or as a coach or a leader is probably key, to try not to be overwhelmed by the plethora of resources and information that's out there. Oh, Craig, I think you're on mute.
There we go. You were right, I was on mute. And yeah, I completely agree. And that recognition and appreciation that everybody has mental health is at the heart and at the core of finding solutions here. You mentioned the mental health first aid training. Myself and Elaine, kindly with support from Mind, were able to access that course because one of the resources, let's say, that is available in terms of sharing learning and developing opportunities are the networks. So you mentioned at the start, a core part of your role is about developing those mental health networks. Do you want to tell us a little bit about those, and we can share a bit about our involvement as well?
Yeah, I would definitely should be an expert given that they started way back in 2019 now. Just to say, it's been one of the most important projects for us at Mind. As a national organisation, we don't have the greatest luxury to be out with the community organisations as much as we'd like to. So we set up the regional networks programme in 2019 through our Sport England funded partnership. There's 8 hubs across England, and the main role is for those organisations to bring together sport, physical activity and mental health organisations to share best practice, to learn from one another, and equally challenge each other around support needs for mental health and physical activity. We know there's so many great community organisations and regional organisations that do this work, and just having that platform to share what's happening is great. And we've had over 1,500 organisations sign up, and there's been some great impact in terms of developing mental health champions programs, specific pilots to support people with mental health problems in different areas across England. So it's been a fantastic initiative. So there's a hub lead in the south, Craig, and then you are the leads for the southeast and southwest as well. It's just a great opportunity for us to also learn about what's happening on the ground, and equally it really informs our work. So actually, where do we need to focus some of our priorities moving forward? So yeah, I'd really encourage you to sign up as a first kind of port of call, because connecting with those local organisations sometimes is more beneficial than actually speaking to a national organisation.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's one of the benefits from experience so far, because we're still, I'd say, relatively new, with them obviously starting way back when, as we might say. It's 2023 now, gosh. It's that opportunity for sharing, learning and collaborating, understanding what's come before, what could be the opportunities moving forwards, sharing priorities, and in the same ilk as an individual, you can support your mental health and well-being by simply talking and communicating with other people and understanding how you connect. That's the same at an organisational level, the same principle in terms of we're not on our own trying to develop programmes to support more people to be active and benefit their mental health as a result. There could be, we hate reinventing wheels at Move Consulting, so there could be some existing wheels, but equally existing challenge as well, where you can get support and carry on that journey of developing a solution potentially. So the tools and resources from Mind, that's one of the core functions of those networks. So as we've mentioned, we've peppered a load of different points around different resources and tools that you could access, but equally engaging through those networks, of which they're all around the country. That could be a way to get into them. And there's some opportunities to share learning and get some of those top tips. So I'm going to pin you to this one now, Karla. You can go wherever you want with it in relation to supporting people's mental health, but what would you say is your top tip beyond this session, or next best step beyond this session for people to take?
Yeah, I guess one tip. I would say I'd probably emphasise back on what we spoke about at the beginning, is that we all have mental health, and it's so important to look after ourselves. When we have poor mental health, that can affect our physical health as well. When we have good mental health, that can affect our physical health. And it's all how about that kind of parity of esteem and remembering that, the importance of mental health. I would say, if you're an organisation listening to this, or a coach or a leader, just think about, steps that you can take to potentially initially support your workforce. So whether that's introducing like wellness action plans, kind of developing conversations in the workplace where there's a safe space to talk about mental health, or accessing, e-learning training, like mental health awareness and sport and physical activity, looking at our website, or even connecting with a local mental health organisation. I suppose that's more than one tip, but I guess for me, it's just, remember that mental health is a journey. It's really important that we look after it, and just try and take small steps to support that and others around you. So even if it is just accessing and reading an introduction to mental health, or accessing the link between physical activity and mental health, and just take your time on it, really. But every effort that you make as a coach or an organisation really supports yourself, your workforce, and the people that attend your programmes.
Well, what's great, Karla, about the work that you do is the number of resources that you have produced for the sector. So there's lots of stuff out there. So if people are trying to find solutions, there is bound to be something out there through your website, through all the projects that you've run and managed, and the learnings from that. So it's really good to be able to signpost people to those things.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And as we said, we'll place all the links to the different resources or tools that we've referenced throughout today's session, as well as opportunities for you to engage with your local regional network if you choose to do so. Thank you again, Karla, for your time and sharing some of your insights. It's great to speak, as always. And thank you, everyone, for listening. So until next month, we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.